Today I'm going to be bringing you a video featuring the brand new Canon V10 vlogging camera. I'm also going to be providing some of my initial thoughts and opinion on this camera. This is the first time that I am using it. I'm also going to be testing the image stabilizer to see how well that performs. My first thought is that the 6.6 millimeter lens, which is an equivalent of 19 millimeters, is perfect for this kind of video. I hope to do some audio tests. Right now I'm using the built-in microphones of the camera. There's a small waterfall behind me, so that may be some of the sounds you're hearing. There's also some car traffic in the area. The camera does come with a 3.5 mic jack on the side of it, so you're able to go ahead and attach microphones to it. I brought several microphone options that I want to go ahead and try. Now I'm testing the audio system with a Rode Go lavalier microphone attached to the 3.5 jack on the camera. The camera does come with the record button at the front of the camera, so it's easy to go ahead to press on and off. When you're recording, you get a red square around the screen that's facing you, and you also get the word record on there with a red square. The camera also has on the side a mini HDMI input. There's also a USB-C input, and the nice thing about that is that you can go ahead and charge the camera while recording it. The camera does come with a 2-inch tilting screen. It's 460 dot per inch. Image quality looks really nice on it. It is a touch screen, and my initial thoughts on it is that it is very responsive. Another thing that I'm seeing on the screen is that the camera actually does a very good job adjusting to exposures. I do have the camera set to program on everything except for the audio input because I am using a lavalier microphone. I do have the image stabilizer turned on, and right now you're getting a lot of glare because I do have the sun kind of behind and to the side of me a little bit. Another nice feature about the camera, it comes with a little kickstand, and the kickstand can be used to go ahead and place the camera on a table and film yourself or take photos of yourself. The kickstand has actually come in real handy right now because I have the Rode Mic Go actually clipped onto the kickstand, so that's pretty cool. In one hand I'm holding something that's taking up no more space than what your phone would take up. There is no jack for headphones, so you're unable to hear the audio as you're recording it, or maybe on playback you're unable to use headphone jacks to hear that. Camera does have built-in speakers, so you will be able to hear your recordings that way. So you can go ahead and record and then play it back and see how it sounds with the built-in speakers on the camera. For this part of the review, I've gone ahead and moved to a different location. I was gonna say I wanted to find something a little bit quieter, and as you hear, it's not quiet. It's not completely quiet around me. At least I don't have a running waterfall behind me, but I do have a rooster that's crowing, and I do have some other birds that are making some noises. I am also moving in and out of the sun to see how the exposure adjusts. One thing that I like about the camera is that there's actually a tab on the screen where you can go ahead and tap it and you can adjust the exposure up and down as needed. Right now, having the camera set on program, I'm quite happy with the way it's actually performing, and I don't know how often I'll need to use that exposure compensation button. The camera has 1/4000 of a second shutter speed for photography and 1/2000 to 1/8 for video. The camera also has an impressive ISO range for video from 125 to ISO 12800. For photos, the camera also has a very impressive ISO range from 124 to 6400. The white balance mode, it has manual, has auto, has fluorescent, and also has tungsten settings. The camera also comes with a self-timer. You have a 2-second and a 10-second option. Give yourself a moment to make sure you're composing the photo well before you take your own selfies, or perhaps put it on the 10-second mode and make sure that you get in that group photo. So the camera comes with a digital stabilizer, not an optical stabilizer. So for the camera, you need to use UHS 1 micro SD memory card. As far as the build quality of the camera, it won't feel impressive to you, and it won't look impressive to you either. It feels like a cheap plastic toy, but that also makes it very light. I've seen in one or two YouTube videos people mentioning that their camera had already gotten scratched within the first few days of using it. So what I've done with my camera is I've actually gone ahead and put some carbon fiber tape in most of the exposed areas so that I can try to go ahead and protect it from getting too scratched up. So a couple of accessories that you can purchase for this camera, Canon actually partnered up with Small Rigs, is a Small Rigs cage. And that sells for $44, and it'll be a cage for the camera. It has, I believe, 2 cold shoes on it, and also a 1/4-20 so that you can go ahead and mount it on a tripod. And one accessory that I did purchase for the camera, and I did not buy the Canon brand because it's substantially more expensive, but at Amazon I went ahead and picked up an absolute duplicate looking one right there, and you'll see the camera actually picks up focus on it as I put it in front of my face. The main reason I purchased it is so that I can use the Bluetooth remote to go ahead and start and stop videos from a distance, and also so that I can get in family photos and hit that button when I'm ready to take the picture. One of the first negatives that I'm going to talk to you about right here with this regarding this camera is I can't believe Canon didn't put a lens cap with this. Come on, Canon, you can't give us a little rubber lens cap? They do some strange things sometimes. I would definitely want to find a lens cap for this camera. Right now what I'm doing is I'm getting a lens cloth and wrapping it around the camera and then putting a rubber band to hold it in place so that I can keep the lens from scratching. You will have fingerprints all over this lens. Make sure you keep a lens cloth with you and try to remember, as I will try to remember, to always wipe that lens, because I can assure you it will be smudged up. So I just did a quick playback to make sure that my audio is coming in okay. When you're doing playback to watch your videos, you can actually adjust the audio on the playback so that you can hear it on the built-in speakers of the camera. I did have to bring the camera relatively close to my ear so that I could hear it, but you know, I don't think that's a negative in any way. It's such a small camera, and bringing it up to your ear is not that big a deal. Right now I am actually a bit dark, so I'm going to go ahead and tap on the exposure compensation. The camera set to a +5 exposure compensation so that I can make up for the fact that it's blowing out behind me, but it looks on the screen so far that I am exposed correctly. So one thing you want to remember when you do that exposure compensation is that you go ahead and tap back on it and get it back to 0, which I've done so right now. I'm going to go ahead and step out to better light, and you can see that the camera has adjusted to me quite nicely. So what I've done now is I've gone ahead and changed 2 settings on the camera. First setting that I changed is the ND filter. So this camera comes with a neutral density filter built in, and you have a couple of options. One of them is off, the other one is on, which would be on all the time, and then the other one, which is the one that I set the camera to, is the auto setting. There's also a couple of options for the image stabilizer, and those options are on, off, and enhance. And the enhance does quite a bit of cropping, and we'll see how that looks once we test it. 12 o'clock daylight here in sunny South Florida at the moment. So we'll see how the camera's built-in ND filter performs with this. This is what the image quality looks like with the image stabilizer turned on to the first setting. And if there's a crop on this, it's not a bad one because I fit in the frame quite nicely. I'm going to go ahead and change it now to the enhanced mode for the image stabilizer and see what the difference is on that. All right, so now I've gone ahead and turned the image stabilizer mode to enhance, and this is what the image quality looks like. Right now, you know, I'm not bothered at all by the crop on the frame. I don't think it's something ridiculously tight. Certainly doesn't look any tighter than the Sony ZV-1 does out of the box. But I'm entering quite a dark area here. Remember, I do have that ND filter turned on to auto. You just saw the camera adjust quite nicely there. I am heading now to a bit of a more overexposed area and Camera seems to be handling it all pretty well. One thing that I've noticed, and I'm quite happy with, the rear screen is not difficult at all to see. I've had some Sony cameras where the rear screen is practically useless. It's real nice that the flip screen of the Canon V10 is nice and bright. So the touch features on it work very nice. Even though the options are kind of tiny and the wordings are small, rear screen is very responsive and works quite nicely. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna turn the camera actually away from my person so that I can record in the enhanced image stabilizer mode. So now I've gone ahead and changed the image stabilizer to just the normal setting. So I've taken it off the enhanced setting. There's also a trolley that's approaching in a few minutes here, and I think I'm going to get on there and try the image stabilizer riding the trolley. I think that'll be a nice test. Hopefully I can go through the three settings, one being off, one being normal, and the other one being the enhanced image stabilizer mode. I'm going to show you just how well this camera adjusts for exposures. Check this out. So that leaf started out real bright and then it adjusted really nice. So the metering system of this camera right now seems pretty awesome. One thing that's impressed me thus far is the battery life of the camera. I think I've recorded a substantial amount of video and done a little bit of playback and messing around with the menu, and the battery is still showing all the bars as full. It doesn't mean that it's not one of those cameras, and I think Canon is kind of famous for that, where all of a sudden your bars go down to nothing. So hopefully that won't be the case. The camera's battery is a built-in battery. Again, the exposure really adjusts quite nicely while I'm walking around with the different lighting. So one of the concerns I have about this camera is that it's basically based on the Canon G7X series. I owned the original G7X. I was really happy with that camera. I really enjoyed it. I thought it performed quite nicely. And then when they came out with the G7X Mark III, I purchased it. Main reason that I went ahead and did the purchase was it had a 3.5 mic jack. And I thought that was going to be awesome to use that camera for this type of video recording. Unfortunately, the camera's autofocus was just awful. And they did several firmware updates. I returned the camera, then I purchased the camera again after they had done some firmware updates saying how it had been improved. And I just found that the camera really never improved. And I just loved that camera. I thought that the image quality, the colors out of that camera were outstanding. The video quality, if it was in focus, was outstanding, but even for photos, autofocusing was an issue. So my understanding is that it is a different processor in this camera. So far, it seems to be performing much better than a G7X ever did. So what's the reason I purchased this camera? I'm doing a lot of traveling for photography, and I wanted something that I could quickly pull out, talk about my experiences and share them with myself, my family. Hopefully it'll be good enough to share out there on YouTube. This is a test using the Canon V10 with the Bluetooth remote. With this button right here, I'm able to go ahead and start and stop the recording. I have a microphone connected to the 3.5 input on the Canon V10, and the audio you're hearing is from the wired connection that I've made to the camera. This cable is quite long, and I'm going to see how well it performs. At the same time, I'm going to see just how well the Bluetooth remote performs at a distance. Right now, I would say the Bluetooth remote is maybe 3 feet in front of me, and obviously it worked well. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop now. Place the camera, I'd say about 5 feet in front of me, and I went ahead and pressed the Bluetooth remote, and it is working fine. I do see the mic level moving in the viewfinder, so I know that the audio is coming into the camera, and there's a plane flying overhead, and we'll see how well the microphone performs. I do have a dead cat on the microphone. I press the Bluetooth remote, and I do see the square around the screen, so it started the recording, so everything is working fine. I do believe I can see the actual meters on the audio bars moving, so the audio is coming in fine. I'd say I'm about 8 feet away from the camera right now. I've gone ahead and pressed the Bluetooth remote. I'd say the camera is about 10 feet away from me, and this is an audio test using the wired cable that is about a 10-foot cable. This is now an audio test using the Boya brand microphone. This microphone is pretty cheap. It's like $29. One thing with this microphone is that it has a switch right here where it says camera and then on and off. You need to make sure that you turn it off or you will eat up the batteries. There are batteries in here, and you want to make sure that you turn it off. Microphone is made to also work with smartphones, and that's where that switch comes in. If I turn that switch down to the smartphone setting, the audio won't come into the camera. Right now I'm seeing the bars moving in the camera, so I can assume that the audio is coming in and everything's working fine. And the Bluetooth remote is working just perfect. Now I'm testing the Bluetooth again. I've gone ahead and attached the Rode lavalier microphone system to the camera using the 3.5 jack. What I've done this time though is I've gone ahead and put a lav mic on my shirt. So I have the Rode in my pocket, and then the Rode is connected to the camera to input the audio. I do see the bars moving in the screen, so I know that the audio is coming in. The Bluetooth remote has worked flawlessly. And also now on the screen, as I move from side to side, I see that there's a box that follows my face. So this will be a good autofocus test of the Canon V10. So I'm walking side to side and then forward and backwards, trying to see how well the autofocus performs on this camera. When I get close, I can see that the box is on my face. Hopefully that means that the autofocus is performing well. But anyways, this will be a good autofocus test. The box seems to stay on my face. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording to see how well the Bluetooth performs. And now I've gone ahead and hit the Bluetooth button again. So the Bluetooth remote seems to perform well. And let's see how far I can go with this audio working. This is a test of the Rode Mic Go. Test of the Rode Mic Go using the Canon V10 vlogging camera. I'm using the Canon V10 vlogging camera. I turned around to see if it loses focus on my person. And then I get back into the frame facing the camera with a bird in my way. And we'll see how well the autofocus is performing. I'm going to move off to the side a bit and then back to this side a little bit. And I do see the audio bars with the audio coming in. So turn my head, turn back around. Some of my negative experience have actually been on me, like forgetting to adjust the volume back when I removed the external microphone. To be honest with you, the performance of the camera, as far as out here in the field, it's awesome. It's fun to use. It's super light. Hopefully the autofocus performed well. The audio, I love the way the exposure adjusts itself. Hopefully the white balance on the screen, it looks really good. So that's on auto white balance. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. My battery indicator is dying right now. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.